Pulmonary vein can be identified on the right side, posterior to the superior vena cava and to the aorta. On the left side, it is identified just next to the aorta. As I said, we have two superior and two inferior. This is just to ensure that more blood oxygenation going back to my heart to be distributed through the whole entire body. The right inferior one will collect the blood from the, obviously, the lower lobe of the right lung, and it is identified posterior to those two and also posterior to the right atrium. So this is the right atrium, you see it from the anterior. If I go back to the posterior, those are the pulmonary vein posterior to the right atrium, but also posterior to the what? Aorta and superior vena cava. For the left one, also it is the same. The left superior collect the left superior lobe of your lung and also can be identified anterior to the bronchus. I'm going to show you a picture at the level of the hyaline so you can see all the relationship between those, and you need to use them for imaging wise. This is the hyaline, the right and the left hyaline of the lung. And you are coming from superior toward inferior respectively. If you look at the level of the hyaline of the lungs, if I'm coming from superior, the first structure identified is the right main bronchus, correct? Going further down toward inferior, you will see the pulmonary artery. Going further down, you will see the pulmonary vein. So just remember them in sequences from superior to inferior. Bronchus, vein, bronchus, artery, vein. On the other hand, you can use aorta and superior vena cava. In this picture, they have to cut the aorta and the superior vena cava respectively. So the aorta and the superior vena cava are what? Like this. So you can what? They have to cut them in order you to be able to see what? All those three structures at the level of the hyaline. If you move to the left side, it is the same. Coming from superior toward inferior. First, you are going to see left pulmonary artery, underneath of it and toward posterior, the left bronchus. If you go further, more toward inferior, you will see the inferior pulmonary vein. Make sense? And of course, all of the above are identified where? Anterior to the descending aorta. So this is the aortic arch, and the descending aorta is what? Behind all those three structures at the level of the hyaline. As we said, the pulmonary trunk will be identified between what? Ascending and descending aorta, and it is always located to the left of the ascending aorta. We're going to start with the axial cuff at the level of the thoracic cavity. You guys have learned everything on the side on our previous lecture. For today's lecture, you need to focus where? On the middle. So we're going to start cut from the top, superior, and going further down toward inferior. This is one of the most superior, and it is just slightly underneath or at the level of the sternoclavicular joint. So exactly over here. Once you are able to see the sternoclavicular joint, that means you're supposed to see the brachiocephalic vessels. Because I said earlier, brachiocephalic vessels are what? Located posterior to the sternoclavicular joint and are protected by this joint. So this is the sternoclavicular, and this is the left brachiocephalic vein That will be the left brachiocephalic, or the right brachiocephalic. And of course, if you move toward anterior from the right side, you are going to see the right common carotid artery. That will be the left common carotid artery and the left subclavian vein. What is this?
Trachea.
Trachea. That's me. This is what? Esophagus. There you go. Someone is awake in the class. You can use a landmark to start this picture. If you do not want to use the sternoclavicular joint as a landmark, you can use what? The spine vertebral body. Move anterior to it, you're going to see the esophagus. Move more anterior, you're going to see what? The trachea. Go to the right and the left respectively, you are going to see the right and the left common carotid artery and then the left subclavian artery, but you cannot see the right subclavian artery because the right subclavian artery comes out of the brachiocephalic artery. So you will see exactly. Any question? If I move further down with my cut, there is no more sternoclavicular joint. That means I'm below the level of the sternoclavicular joint, so I will see more of my manubrium towards inferior or slightly from the body of the sternum. You get two choices. Either you use this as landmark or you can use the easier way, which is I like it better, is what? The vertebral spine body. Anterior slightly to the left is my esophagus. Anterior to the esophagus is trachea. Anterior to the trachea, on the right side, now you are going to see the brachiocephalic artery. Correct? If this is a brachiocephalic artery, that means you move toward the left common carotid artery, move more toward the left, your left subclavian artery. So basically, your understanding is what? The aortic arch. On the right, you will see brachiocephalic artery, left common carotid artery, and left subclavian. So this is the way the arching, but we are above the arch cut. That's the arch. Brachiocephalic, left common, and left subclavian. This cut, it is not at the level of the arch, it's at the level above it. So that's why you are seeing roundy, roundy, roundy next to each other. Correct? Maybe. At the same time, you are going to see the brachiocephalic vein, right and the left, more anterior to all of the above. So one more time. Vertebral body is my landmark. Move anterior slightly to the left, esophagus. More anterior, trachea. More anterior, brachiocephalic artery. Toward the left of the brachiocephalic artery, left common carotid artery. Toward the left of it, left subclavian artery. Anterior to all of the above, right and left respectively, are brachiocephalic veins. We moved a little bit slightly more down on the cut. At this point, you are going to see this gentleman. Now, the cut is over here. So this is the first, that's the second one. And this is why you are seeing the aortic arch. But you can keep the landmark like the previous one. Spine, anterior to the left, esophagus, anterior to it, trachea, If I move toward the left, the aortic arch. If I move toward the right, this is what we said earlier. This is the aorta, and this is what? The superior vena cava. Always superior vena cava toward the right of the aorta, next to each other, like this. Easy, huh? Sometimes. And of course, no brainer, you can tell. Since those are great vessels and are important, they are protected by what? The sternum. So nothing can hurt your great vessels. Those great vessels, if they rupture, you are in big trouble. I am going a little bit further down with my cup, meaning this. That's number 3. I am seeing both including ascending and descending portion of the aorta. Now, your landmark is going to remain the same, which is it's the base spine. Your descending aorta, it is always located and it is protected by the spine vertebra slightly what? To the left. So, if this is the spine, anterior slightly to the left of my spine is the ascending aorta. That means I will move, descending. I will move immediately, and that will be my ascending. It's very simple. That's the way we are cutting. This part and this part I'm seeing. Use the descending because it's easier next to the vertebra, slightly to the left. Esophagus is never going to what? To change. At that level, I'm still seeing the trachea, but it is a little wider because this is the carina where the trachea will bifurcate. Meaning, on my next down cut, no more trachea. I'm going to see what? Right and left bronchus, correct? To the right of my ascending aorta is seniorita vena cava. That's what we said over here, guys. If this is ascending aorta, to the right is what? Okay. Question? No question. Good. We're gonna go further down. We still have a portion of the ascending and the descending aorta respectively. Your spine will be your landmark. To the left, anterior to the spine is my descending aorta. Move immediately to the anterior, also protected by the sternum. That will be my ascending aorta. Still, the esophagus is going to be showing over here. They didn't point on it, but I can still be able to point on my esophagus. Okay? Now, there is no trachea. You're going to replace the trachea by what? The right and the left bronchus. So, midline to the left is mine, left bronchus. Midline to the right is mine, right bronchus. Correct? Now, earlier I said both the bronchus, or more specifically the right bronchus, can be identified posterior to the superior vena cava. So if I name this, what they call the bronchus, that's me. I need to go toward the anterior and I will see the superior vena cava. And then you can see the pulmonary vein. Looks like you forgot that picture. Let me go back. This is your superior vena cava. Correct? So everything is underneath in your image, mean toward posterior. If you start from the top to the bottom, right bronchus, pulmonary vein, pulmonary artery, and then pulmonary vein. So that's where exactly the cut in our image. Oh, bypassed it, huh? this one. There. You get the point? The pulmonary vessel and the bronchus are where? Behind or posterior to the superior vena cava. Going further down, when you go further down, you are going to be able to detect what? The pulmonary trunk now. And we said earlier, pulmonary trunk, it is located between ascending and the descending aorta. You see? Actually that way. So the pulmonary trunk is in between the ascending and the descending aorta. Bless you. So we can use the same concept. My landmark is the vertebra. Anterior to the vertebra, slightly to the left, is descending aorta. That means I move all the way toward the anterior, just protected by the sternum, is my ascending aorta. The level of the cup, including the pulmonary trunk, which is, I'm supposed to see it in between. Back. And of course, the right and the left pulmonary artery, no brainer. The one goes to the right is the right one, and the one goes to the left is the left one. Now, the bronchus is posterior to the right pulmonary, and the superior vena cava is anterior to all of the above. The left one is also posterior to the left pulmonary vessels, or you can use anterior to the aorta. If you guys remember, I told you earlier, all the structure on the left are anterior to descending aorta. Let me refresh your memory. This is your descending aorta. That's the arch, and then the descending is where? Behind all the structure at the level of the left hiatus. So if I point on the descending aorta, just anterior to the spine, that's mean on the top of it, I'm supposed to see all of the above. Where is it? There you go. That's mean everything located anterior, including pulmonary trunk, the bronchus on the left. Any question? No? Going further down, you are not going to see the branches of the, what they call? Of the aorta. Now, you are only at the level of what? The descending aorta. So, that's the level. You're going to use the same. Anterior to the spine to the left is my descending aorta. Because we start getting a little closer to the hard structure, then you are going to see the left atrium. Always remember, what is the closest chamber of your heart to the spine? The answer, left atrium. If you look at your heart, our heart is not like this. Our heart is like this, guys. Your heart, it's not that way. It is that way. So it's not like this. It is like this. So, which is the most posterior chamber? The most posterior chamber is the left atrium. This one. Make sense? So, landmark for your left atrium will be always what? Spine. Anterior to it is the left atrium. Toward the left is descending aorta like usual. If I say this is my left atrium, That means that's supposed to be what? My right atrium. This is the valve of the aortic semilunar valve. Look how is this curving this way. This is the plan supposed to be. But I'm getting only what? The descending portion. Then if I go toward anterior, the pulmonary trunk, and then the bronchus, right and left. Question.
The esophagus is still there.
Your esophagus is going to remain there, which is over here, always. Always it's over there. No more trachea, since 2 images, because we are below the carina. Going more further down with the cut, now the only blood vessels that you are going to be able to see is the descending portion of the aorta and will remain the same all the way until where? The umbilicus, until the bifurcation. So when you're going to do the abdominal cavity, that's what you are going to see. The aorta, abdominal one, is going to be here. So spine body, and then descending aorta, slightly anterior to the left, correct? At the level of the heart, that's mean the first chamber close to my spine will be what? Left atrium. If I name this is left atrium, that's mean obvious this is supposed to be what? Left ventricle. If I name this left atrium, that's obvious is the right atrium. And that will be the right ventricle. The septum with the fossa ovalis, slightly you could see it if you wish, and then the interventricular septum, the reflection from the valve on the right and from the left, tricuspid and mitral valve. For the heart chamber, if you are able to name one single chamber, then you can name the other. So you get 2 choices based on this picture. The easiest is spine, left atrium. But your other choice will be what? Sternum, right ventricle. This is my right ventricle, which is, my sternum is where? Like this, yeah. But the spine is easier, unless you wish it the other way. Works too. Slight reflection from the wall of the heart, which is, we say, the pericardial layer. And then, whatever you see over here, those are what? The thickness of the myocardial muscles. And of course, because your left ventricle has to push blood during the systole against pressure. The pressure in your aorta is very high, guys. So in order for my heart, left ventricle to push blood against high pressure, I need what? Strong force. That's why I told you your heart slide very strong when you beat without your girlfriend next to you. Okay? All right. So this is why right ventricle doesn't have to what? To contract against pressure, because the pulmonary vessels, they don't offer too much of pressure. But the aorta offer high pressure, then my left ventricle muscles is always what? Thicker. Same picture like the previous one. That's an MRI, which is spine, aorta, left atrium, right atrium. Right ventricle, left ventricle, the pericardium layer. So, and of course, you are seeing the valve and septum also can be seen. Going further down on the cut, as you can tell, we are all the way close to the base or the diaphragmatic surface of the heart. You will expose the right and the left ventricle. The descending aorta will remain in the same position, never change. Slightly, you will be able to see the most superior portion of your liver at that point. And of course, the septum between the ventricle, which is, we call it interventricular septum. Sagittal images. To include sagittal image for all the heart, you need to start from parasagittal because slightly portion of your heart is located toward the right. And then moving toward the left, which is posterior. So this is right parasagittal, just at the right margin of your sternum, and it's the sagittal cut. Superior, inferior, this is posterior, and this is what? The anterior. Right atrium, and you can tell how is the IVC moving the blood from the lower part, abdomen, pelvis, and leg into the right atrium after piercing the diaphragmal muscle. So meaning this is my diaphragmal muscles, and this is the cable hiatus, correct? Ascending aorta, it's protected by the manubrium of my sternum. If you guys remember all the axial cut, we saw the ascending aorta posterior to what? To the sternum, protecting it, correct? And then toward the posterior of the ascending aorta is the trachea, pulmonary artery, slightly part of the left atrium. Most of those images, they are a little confusing, okay? And the reason why, because your heart is not like this in your body. So when we do sagittal, so because my heart is oriented that way. And this is one of the reasons. Later on, we're gonna discuss what the cardiologists, they came up with. We're gonna talk about only images with the coronal, axial, and sagittal that belong to the heart axis, not to your body axis. You guys get the point? We'll talk about it in a little bit. But just because it's a little confusing the way how you see structures with those cuts, moving a little bit more toward the left, mostly you will see the left ventricle and part of the aortic semilunar valve that will make the ascending aorta. And this is the first branch on the right side, which is the brachiocephalic artery. The trachea is on the most posterior, and the same concept. We say the closest chamber to the heart, to the spine is what? Is the left atrium. So we're still maintaining this even when we are in sagittal. Toward the superior of my left atrium is going to be the pulmonary blood vessels, arteries, and the veins. And of course, toward the most inferior, if you go further toward inferior, you're going to see the diaphragma, and this is your slightly portion of the left liver lobe that belongs to your abdominal cavity. This plan cut including the aortic arch and part of the descending one, which is this one. Earlier we said the aorta goes toward the posterior and can be seen. The aorta goes toward the posterior like this, and you can see it posterior to your left atrium. And your left atrium will still remain the chambers closest to what? To the spine. But in this image, the descending aorta is first, closer to the spine. You guys remember we, in axial cut, we named descending aorta immediately before even the left atrium. So that's why you see the descending aorta. So if you move more toward the anterior, you are going to see the right ventricle and part of the ascending aorta. More toward superior is the right pulmonary blood vessel. Almost same picture. Aortic root, that's meaning this is the part of the aorta at the level of the semilunar aortic valve, the ascending, the arch, and all the way the descending. and this is the closest chamber. You can use the aorta, or if you can use the spine, and that would be my left atrium. That would be the right atrium, and then the pulmonary vein, artery, and then behind or anterior to the aorta is the bronchus on the left. If you guys remember, we say those are located anterior to the descending aorta. So you can still be able to see them at the same aspect even when you do sagittal. More toward the left, you're not seeing any part of the arch because we moved the arch this way. I moved more toward the left, so you will see more of the descending, and then the closest chamber, the left atrium and the left ventricle, and slightly from your right ventricle. Between those, you're gonna see the pulmonary trunk on the most superior. Going further down, you can tell the reflection of the myocardium, how thick from the left ventricle, and we say this portion of the heart resting on the diaphragma muscles, this is the reflection of your diaphragma muscle, and this surface of your heart, we call it the diaphragmatic surface. All the way more to the left, you will expose the ventricles, and in between the septum, and of course, this is the diaphragmatic surface that both right and the left ventricle, they rest on the diaphragma, and further down, it's your abdominal cavity, which is I'm seeing part of your liver. In coronal cut, the orientation of the heart, as we said, apex is toward the left, the base is toward the right, diaphragmatic surface resting on the diaphragma muscles. If this is the left ventricle, that means this is the semilunar aortic valve, and that will be my ascending aorta. Correct? So if I go toward the left more from the ascending aorta, I'm supposed to see the pulmonary vessels on the left side, of course. The diaphragma surface of the heart with the right atrium and left ventricle. This is why I told you earlier. It's a little confusing, those pictures. How come I'm seeing right atrium and left ventricle? You guys get the point there? Because your heart, it's like this. It's angled tilt toward anterior. So the base of the heart is more toward posterior, like this, not like this. So when you cut coronal, like this, I'm gonna see this and this. So the cut is this way. So we took this part, this and this, they're gone. So I'm seeing what, this and this. Make sense? Sometimes. They're a little confusing, guys. Anyway, so from the right atrium, you can tell when the superior vena cava comes to what? To drain the blood from the top part of your heart. So the blood coming from where? From everywhere, above the diaphragma into my right atrium through the superior vena cava. And we said superior vena cava, it's formed by the union or the emerging of the right and the left brachiocephalic vein. So that's the left brachiocephalic vein, this is the right brachiocephalic vein. Both they emerge to form what? The superior vena cava. What forms the brachiocephalic vein? The subclavian and the internal jugular vein. From the right, this is the right subclavian. From my neck up, this is my internal jugular vein. Those two, they emerge to give me brachiocephalic vein on the right. Same concept from the left. Left subclavian, left internal jugular vein. When they emerge, they give me the left brachiocephalic, and both are going to what? To drain the blood to the superior vena cava and then to the right atrium. Try to use the direction of the blood for memorizing. Start from the neck. You can tell those are structure of your neck, the one you guys learned about, correct? Move the blood from the neck with the internal jugular vein on the side, the subclavian vein, and then the brachiocephalic, and then if I move from the right to the left, to the right of the IVC and moving to the left, we say it is what? The aorta, the ascending aorta. So your ascending aorta is what? To the left of superior vena cava. This is superior vena cava, this is the aorta. And if you move more from the aorta, the pulmonary trunk, there you go. Superior vena cava, aorta, pulmonary trunk. From the right to the left in sequences. Question? No? Good. We'll come back to those pictures when we get to the coronary artery. So this is they showing you with the, of course, MRA, substructive. You learn about those procedures in your next semester or the following one. So we refer to them by substruct. The left ventricle and aortic semilunar valve, ascending aorta, arch, and descending. And you are seeing the major branch of the ascending, the arch of the aorta, which is you guys learned it. On the right side, brachiocephalic artery, move toward the left common carotid, and then more toward the left is the left subclavian. The same picture, but this is 3D CT scan, and you guys have learned about this picture, correct? Any question? Any question? No more? Your heart, despite the fact that contains all the 6 liters of the blood within its chamber, that much blood we have in it, okay? 6 liters. But still your heart wall, which is, we're talking about epicardium, myocardium, and the endocardium. This wall of the heart is a tissue and cells need blood with oxygenation. So you're gonna disregard the presence of the whole entire volume of the blood of your body in your heart chambers. That's a different matter. But I need my heart wall to receive what? The oxygenated blood so the tissue and cells can survive. This has happened through 2 major arteries, the right and the left coronary artery. The right and the left coronary artery with their branches are very complicated. You do not need to go too much in depth. All what I need from you guys to remember, there is a right and there is a left coronary, and each one give us 2 major branches. So only what? 4 branches that you need to memorize, okay? You do not need to go too much in depth, correct? We said earlier, the first part of your aorta is the ascending that goes up, and that ascending aorta gives only 2 branches, one on the right, one on the left, and we call them coronary artery. Both coronary artery, they branches immediately from the aorta above, slightly above the valve, aortic semilunar valve, meaning this is where the aortic semilunar valve, if you can see it from here, the right and the left coronary artery comes that way exactly, out of it. Let me put the rest, we can use that one. You break it, you need to fix it, okay? got it? Thank you. Did I ever told you about thank you? No? Okay. Let's waken you up. 18 years ago, I was useless, doing nothing. So my wife, she looked at me, she told me, better than doing nothing all day. I was gambling on sport betting website. You want to name it, everything. Basketball, football, even stuff that I don't even know. I've never seen any baseball game in my life. Doesn't matter. She told me, why don't you go and take some English classes? We used to live what? Right in front of Cypress College. If you guys heard about Cypress College in Orange County. So I told her, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Why not? So I go over there. They do the testing to see your level. They told me, okay, you are going to be on ECL, meaning English as a second language, the last level. They call 100. Okay, 100. I walk to the class. My teacher is what? Chinese. 2 years ago, she migrated from China. Her husband is an American, but she has PhD in what? In English. Still, she speaks perfect, but she has what? An accent. Okay. She cannot pronounce the. The TNH, pronounce it is. So she said, thank you? No, thank you. The first time she said it, I was like, I want to smile, but I couldn't. Respect. Open your book on page 36. One of the students, she asked, which page? 36. She pulled down her glasses. She gave me that bad look. Like, oh my God, I'm in trouble now. Anyway, the classes end. I was the first one to be what? At the door. Baha, stay. Are you making fun of me? Of course not. Be careful. Will be so. The class was about paragraphs. That's every homework paragraph. So what I used to do? No brainer. I take the paragraph that I need to write it down and I give it to who? To the wife. My wife, she's American and she's very good in English. Can you? That's your homework in English. Of course, it cost me a little money, but it's good. I can't write it down. There. She write down perfect paragraph. 100 through the whole entire 3-month semester. Until we get to what? To the final exam. Now you need to write down the paragraph in the class. I'm not joking with you guys. I wasn't able to write down more than 5 rows. And I blocked, that's it. So I give her my test. She looked at it. And immediately, Baha, are you married? Yes. Is your wife American? Yes. Tell her she's very good in English. So.
Did she pass you?
Huh?
Did she pass you?
Everybody passes at the community college. Don't you know that? I'm dead serious. Go to the community college, everybody pass automatically. I have in my other class, the DMAs, I have a student. They just graduated with the bachelor degree. Bachelor degree. And I was teaching them about ultrasound physics. In ultrasound physics, we use math. Not math. Math belongs to the 3rd grade kids that your kids, they learn it. One half time half. She said, 1. And I told her, no, that's wrong. She told me, how come? I told her, this is a quarter. She blew up Janet Nashina, your next teacher on the patient care, she used to be the campus director in Hawthorne before they shut it down. She goes to her. We need another teacher. He's teaching us wrong. Mrs. Janet, she knows me. She came and she told me, what's the problem? I told her, can you please multiply half by half? It's a quarter. That's what I told her, but she said, I'm wrong. She looked at her, she told her, young lady, go back to your seat and listen to your teacher. She has a bachelor degree. She doesn't know how to multiply half by half. So, community college, guys, everybody has, okay? The good news for you, they don't have MRI program, okay? If you go to the universities, those are tough. The universities are tough. They do fail a lot, not the community college. I mean, the community college is just a matter of those like general ed classes. This is why there, no problem. No problem, no problem. The right coronary artery and the left coronary artery are a branch of the ascending aorta right immediately from the root, meaning the very beginning of the aorta just above the valve. This is the right coronary artery, and of course, this is the left coronary artery. Each of those arteries are going to supply a surface of the heart. The right coronary artery is going to supply the right side, posterior face. The left one will supply the left side, anterior face. Each of those, they're gonna give a big branch, which is, you're not gonna see any of the above. Okay, we use this one. So, if you look at this, you are seeing the heart, and this is the right coronary artery. And the number one branch of the right coronary artery that supply mainly your right ventricle is the posterior interventricular artery. Posterior interventricular artery. Now, the other one, which is the one that goes this way, on the opposite side, and we call it marginal. The marginal artery. Let me point on those for you over here so you know them. There. That's number one, marginal artery, and then the right interventricular one. So the right side of your heart, it is supplied by the right coronary artery, and the right coronary artery gives two major branches, marginal artery and right interventricular artery. Your left coronary artery branch at the same level like the right one and give two major branches, circumflex artery, and then the left interventricular, or sometimes they call it anterior descending. For the right one, they call it posterior descending. You could use any of the term. So those are the four major arteries. Now, of course, each of those branches of the coronary artery are going to what? To branch further and further and further until we reach what? All the way deep to the heart wall, and each point of your heart should receive what? The blood supply. Four arteries, branches that you need to remember, and the two major ones that you need to remember. And this is what you are going to point also imaging-wise. We'll see them in a little bit. Your heart, like any other organ of your body, if I have an artery to supply, that means I need the blood to be drained. Now, normally we name the veins similar to what? To the artery, because veins and artery are next to each other. The exception to the rule, they did not want to name the veins of your heart coronary veins, like the artery. So they give it a different name, which is cardiac veins. So the coronary artery supply my heart wall, the cardiac vein are the one what? Drain the vein. Now, the other exception to the rule, and this is that all veins in our body, to move the blood back to my heart, they have to reach what? The superior vena cava or the inferior vena cava, because those are the two major veins that bring the blood to my heart. The cardiac veins, they do not need neither superior neither inferior vena cava. They drain the blood directly to your heart by an open sinus in your right atrium. Do you see that? So this is the right atrium and this is the open sinus on the right atrium. Even in those, I think they make it, I don't know, I know this one. If you can see this white, that's the sinus of the veins. So the veins, the cardiac vein, drain the blood directly to where? To the right atrium. They don't need to drain the blood to the neither inferior or neither superior vena cava. And of course, the veins drainage follow what? The artery. The artery takes the blood to the heart, meaning they move this way to supply my heart from the posterior and from what? From the anterior. The vein, they emerge back way from the anterior and back way from the posterior. This is why if you look at this, you are going to see red and blue next to each other, correct? Meaning, next to each artery, we have what? Vein. They didn't name it coronary arteries. They name it what? Cardiac veins. Cardiac vein drainage is complicated. You do not need to know it, okay? You just need to remember, smaller vein will drain into what? The larger vein. And you need to remember the venous sinus, meaning everything drained from your heart, it has to be collected where? In that wide area, which is, we call it the cardiac sinus, and then the cardiac sinus will drop the blood into my right atrium. You know that MRI, it is not one of the best choices for identifying coronary artery or even cardiac vein problems, correct? What doctor they use to identify coronary artery problems? They use ultrasound, but there is more important than ultrasound.
IR.
Which is?
Interventional angiology.
It's like CT, no? A midman.
The cardiac catheter.
Oh, yeah.
The best thing, if I can see something, what? Directly with my eye. The camera will be coming from where? From your femoral artery to the iliac, aorta, to the coronary. And I can check on every single coronary artery. If you have any blockage or stenosis, immediately they're gonna deploy the stent. Correct? So that's the best one. Of course, ultrasound, MRI, even CT scan can be used as an adjunct for different matter. Yeah, but those, the catheters, intracardiac catheters are the number one. It is good to know all of the above, why not? This is the aortic root, or the starting point of the ascending aorta. I am seeing the anterior descending or interventricular one and the circumflex one. That's mean this is my left coronary artery. And we said the left coronary artery will give two major branches. One goes toward the anterior to supply the anterior aspect of my left ventricle. We call it anterior interventricular. And then the other one, circumflex. The one goes toward the back to supply that left side of the heart. On the opposite side, if I said this is the left, go toward the opposite side, then you will see the right one. Now we are seeing more of the right side coronary rather than the left. So still this is the aortic fluid and this is the right coronary artery, which is, you can tell how moved along or encircling the right ventricle, meaning my whole right ventricle is supplied by what? By right interventricular artery. And the marginal one will move toward the left atrium, or to the right atrium, sorry, we'll see it in a little bit. You are seeing also in this picture the circumflex that coming from the left. This is why they call it circumflex, because what? Go around, wrap around. Look at the circumflex, how it's going from the left around. So that's why they refer to it by circumflex. So the circumflex is this one. This is a 3D CT scan. That's the left ventricle, and most of the left side of your heart is supplied by the left coronary artery, and the major branch that do so is the descending, or you can call it the anterior. As I said, there's more branches, like a diagonal one. You can see it over here, you don't need to know. You need to know only the major one. On the opposite, toward the posterior, which is more of the posterior side of your heart, is supplied by the right coronary artery, and this is will be the right, and this the branch is the major branch, which is, we call it right posterior interventricular. You could tell both they are coming out from where? From the root of the aorta. So what you see over here, this reflection, basically this is the aortic semilunar valve. So they are branching immediately from the aortic semilunar valve. Again, the same. The right coronary artery, the left coronary artery, and this is the circumflex that is going to go to the opposite side, and this is the one supplying the anterior aspect, which is, we call it the right anterior. On return, on the right side, the right coronary artery is going to give the marginal one. So the posterior side of the heart, which is, you now see it, the opposite side, they're going to be the branch that will be the right descending or right interventricular. We just saw this one. The main branch of the coronary artery from the root of the aorta, which is that one on the left side, and those are the two major branches. The circumflex, the one move toward the left ventricle, encircle it, and that's why they call it circumflex. And then the anterior, the one supply the anterior interventricular septum on the left side. When you do axial cut, you might probably be able to see some reflection from those coronary arteries. So if you're looking at that right atrium, then it's obvious this is the right coronary artery, which is, you can see the reflection over here. So it's going to give the circumflex that goes that way, and then the posterior interventricular or the right interventricular that goes down to supply my right ventricle. In return, for the left side, which is coming from the left one, which is the left descending, you are seeing only the reflection, because this one supplied the left side of the heart, so you'll see it just at the apex of the heart. Same like the previous one, just different. That the right coronary artery, and of course, as I said, will branch this way and that way, the marginal and the anterior descending. If you can tell, this image is all the way down at the level of the diaphragma, and this is why I am seeing what? The liver. So the right coronary artery, because supplying the right side, which is that way, so this is my diaphragma and this is my liver. So you could see the right coronary artery over here, just a little bit above the diaphragma, next to the liver. That's the right coronary artery. same, everything. Any question, guys? No? Everybody back at work to enjoy your break. Or do you want 1 hour? 1 hour?
No.
Okay. 45 minutes is good. Enjoy your lunch, dinner, whatever you want. The sun outside will be good too.